Hello everybody, my name is Walter and this is episode 32 of Redstone Commands Series. In this episode I want to cover the Bossbar command. Now this command can be used to manipulate custom Bossbars. Now the custom here is rather important because this command does not handle the Bossbars that are automatically generated, for example, if you have a Wither running amok in your world. Subsequently, those Bossbars are also, or those custom Bossbars are not directly linked to the health of an entity. You can do this using commands, but they are not automatically linked and also not automatically adjusted. So you will have to put some work into the background to get the bossbar behaving in certain ways. I will show you one example in a bit. Also, you can only have up to 4 bossbars visible at the same time. Beyond that, they won't show up, basically. And with that, let's get to the syntax and also the examples. So the bossbar command can actually do quite a few things. You can get a list of the currently available bossbars. You can add a new bossbar. You can remove an existing bossbar. You can get information about an existing bossbar, and you can also change the attributes or the information of an existing bossbar. So let's go through the list with the various examples following where it makes sense. So if you just want to have a list, you just write down bossbar, so the name of the command, and then list. And if you do that, well, currently there are no bossbars, so you don't really get anything out of that. So let's talk about adding a bossbar. So you start with the name of the command bossbar, then add, and then you need an ID. This is the unique identifier of that bossbar that will be used later on in all following commands. And this follows the normal convention of namespace, double point, and then the unique identifier of that bossbar. The default namespace would be Minecraft. So for example, Minecraft double point my bossbar. Or if you want to make it more unique for your data pack, you could have something like my data pack double point boss1. Just a few examples there. And after that, you need to give the bossbar a name. This is basically the text that appears on top of the actual progress bar or bossbar. This is JSON text. So you can have just a quotated text, or you can follow the normal JSON text convention. Example would be here. So bossbar add, and then I've called this Minecraft point cluck. And the text is, or the name is Cluck Norris, Destroyer of Worlds. So let's do this. And you see, now I created a custom bossbar, but I don't really see it. This will come a bit later. But now if I get myself a list, you can see now I have one bossbar, which is this Cluck Norris, Destroyer of Worlds. I can also remove this again, similar to before, bossbar, and then this time remove, and then the ID. So here, for example, if I wanted to remove the Cluck Norris, I can do this. And now I have removed this and I'm back to an empty list again. But let's edit so you can see a bit more. Now, if you want to get information about the current attributes of that bossbar, you can do this for 4 different attributes. You can get what is the maximum of this bossbar, so the maximum number. You can get which players can actually currently look at this bossbar or have this bossbar visible. You can see the current value of the bossbar, and you can see how or whether the bossbar is actually visible. So you can also blank it out. The command in full is bossbar, then get, then once more the ID, and then either max, players, value, or visible. So let's do this. So here again, I'm going with the bossbar we just created. This time I'm looking at max, and you can see the maximum is 100, which is the default value. How you can change this, I will show you in a few moments. Players shows you which players can actually see the bossbar. So you can actually customize who is able to see this bossbar. This might be interesting if you go for something like a progress bar for a specific main quest or something. So currently, no one can see it, as you can see there. The current value is 0, which is also the default value. And it's currently visible. which is again the default value since we just created it. With that, let's get to the last syntax, which is for setting or changing the attributes of the bossbar. Here you have a few more options than just for the getting. So we start with name of command, bossbar, then the mode set, then again the ID, and then we can select out of those 7 options here. We can change the color of the bossbar itself. But before we get this, let's start with the player so we can actually see what happens. So bossbar set ID, and then the players as a word, and then you specify which players can see this. This can be just the player name. This can also be a target selector. If you're using the all entity target selector, then you will have to specify the type as player, or the command will not execute. So let's do this. So I'm setting this so that all players can see this bossbar, and you can see the bossbar has appeared at the top. Now let's talk about the color. So this is the color the bossbar itself shows, and the default value would be white. So we have bossbar set, then the ID, then color, and then you set the color. You have 7 options here. You can use blue, green, pink, purple, red, white, or yellow. And just for this example here, I'm going with purple. So bossbar set Minecraft clock, and then color purple. And you can see, instead of being white, the bossbar at the top is now, well, purple. You can change the maximum, just max and then the max. Default value would be 100. Now I'm setting this to 4. You don't really see a change since the value currently is at 0. So let's set the value to maybe 2, the value, and then the actual value. And here now you can see this has been set up to 2. Since 4 is maximum, this progress bar or boss bar is now filled to 1/2. Then you can also change the name, which we had to give the game during the creation, but now we can change it after the fact. So word name and then the actual name. Again, this is JSON text. Here I'm going with a bit more formatted JSON text, and now you can see it looks a bit different. And well, value we already went through. Now the style is the style of the progress bar. So you have the options to go with you have the option to go with progress, which is just a continuous boss bar, or you can put this into notches, or you can make this a notched or segmented boss bar. The options here are 6, 10, 12, and 20 notches or segments. And here, for this example, I go with 12. And now you can see what notches means in this case. Value we already had, and visible, if we set this to false, you can see it disappears, but it's still working in the background, and if we set this to true, it's visible again. So those are the things you can change after the fact. Now let's show you how you can actually use this. So what I have here is 2 command blocks. The first will just summon in a chicken with some attributes, and the second is a bit more interesting because here I'm going with a data command. I'm looking at the health of the chicken I'm summoning in. And I'm writing this using the execute command into the value of the boss bar. So this is how you can automate the boss bar a bit in the background so that you actually see the health of, in this case, this chicken here. And if we now damage the chicken, you can see 4 life points. The maximum is 4, so every time I hit it, I reduce this by 1. Yeah, that's basically how you can make a little boss bar that actually deserves its name. And once you're done with all of that, you might want to remove the boss bar again. And with that, we have reached the end of this episode about the boss bar command. I hope you enjoyed it, and well, see ya.